Welcome back. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin calls climate change an existential threat to United States national security. Austin named 4 incidents in recent years that climate change has driven that have impacted the department. Jim Mitre is Chief Strategy Officer at Govini. He's former Principal Director for Strategy and Force Development in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Govini's publishing its 2021 Climate, Environment, and Energy Taxonomy for the Defense Department. Jim, welcome. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming on the program. These events that Secretary Austin alluded to, you and your team also allude to, for the Defense Department in particular, implications arising from how climate change is shaping the geopolitical security environment as a driver of conflict and instability. Is that conflict and instability limited to other parts of the world, or do some of the events that Secretary Austin talked about also bring that inside our own borders, hurricanes, fires, and so on?
Yeah, well, first off, good morning, Francis, and many thanks for having me. I think that's exactly right. The Department of Defense is called on for a range of different missions. And one of those missions includes defense support to civil authorities here at home. So when there are wildfire events, earthquakes, things of that nature, bad storms, we've seen in the past, the military is called in to support overwhelmed civil authorities. And it's exactly that type of event that we could see more of in the future based on trends that are happening with the climate. And so the Department of Defense wants to ensure that it has the right capabilities and the right operational concepts to be able to support more in that capacity. So it is a global issue, to be sure, and instability and dynamics happen overseas, but it is one that can affect us back at home as well.
Speaking of trends, what are the trends that you see as you examine these issues in this taxonomy, Jim?
So there's a range of different trends that came out. Now, just by brief background, what we did is we looked at all of the U.S. government spending in climate, environment, and energy from FY 2012 through FY 20, in part because we wanted to get a sense of, over the end of the Obama administration and with the Trump administration, how much they're actually investing in this space. So we would know, as the Biden-Harris administration comes in, what's the foundation upon which they're working from. And one of the trends that really jumped out at us, is quite surprising, is that the Trump administration actually increased investment in this portfolio during its time. And that was surprising because, quite frankly, and this is no secret, the Trump administration wasn't prioritizing climate in the same way the Obama administration was. There was efforts to unwind many of the Obama administration's policies and regulations in this space. And so we expected to see the same thing in terms of federal government investment, and we didn't. And that's likely for a variety of reasons. Part of it could be inertia in terms of what the programs were already underway and getting going during the Obama administration. Part of it is Congress played a role here, using the power of the purse. But in many ways, why it got an uptick is that if you look at it program by program, many of the investments are just prudent and necessary for the government to execute its mission.
One of the things that I've learned over the past 5 years in particular, Jim, that may be a factor there is that every uniform leader that I talk to, who obviously are there to provide apolitical input to civilian leaders, talks very clearly and very explicitly about the implications of climate change on his or her portfolio, not making decisions about or making declarations about what they think about it from a policy or philosophical level, but just what they're seeing on the ground. And I wonder if that might be part of what's driving this too. It's just the uniform leaders saying, you guys can debate whether it's real or not, or how bad it is, or what's causing it, but this is what we're seeing on the ground, in the air. This is what we need. I wonder if that's part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a couple of different ways in which it affects the Department of Defense. You mentioned already how extreme weather events and changing climate can create stability, and that can lead to conflict in certain areas of the world, or to natural disasters that we need to respond to back here at home. But the warming of the Earth is opening up new sea passages and lanes in the Arctic. Russia has not been shy about asserting its presence there, and so that's an important area for the department to focus on. And then specifically in terms of military installations, many of them exist in areas that are at risk from flooding and from extreme weather events as well, and that can hamper the Department of Defense's ability to operate. And then the reality is that most of America's military is based here in the United States, and yet most of the missions it's called upon to do are overseas. And so this effort to project power globally and sustain it, especially in austere environments where there isn't a lot of infrastructure, comes with a huge logistics tail to ensure that those forces have the energy that they need. And so it's just prudent for the department to make investments in things like wind and solar and energy capture and storage and distribution technologies that will be more cost efficient and allow the department to be a little bit more agile as it maintains its presence overseas.
There's tons of stuff in this, and I wish we had time to talk about more of what you have in here, Jim. 30 seconds left. What do you want people to take away from this taxonomy? What do you want people to do with it?
Well, if you look just at the Department of Defense, what it invests in this space, it's quite wide-ranging. Everything from satellites to sea batteries to smart buildings. And what we were able to do is apply some machine learning techniques to help organize the range of investments there into a coherent whole and to think about it as an effective portfolio. And so if you really want to understand what DoD is doing in the space and figure out how to manage it, then this is a good place to start.
Jim, congratulations on this work, and thanks very much for joining me to talk about it.
Many thanks.